Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're going to take a walk around the garden to look specifically at containers. A little container tour here, mid to late June. I want to show you how they're all doing. Some of them I love, some of them I'm a little underwhelmed by, so we're going to take a look at all of them. You can see we've got a beautiful morning. It's a little breezy. Standing on the east side of the house though, so we're protected right here. Yesterday's high was 95 degrees. Today's high is 72. So last night was crazy windy, and it's supposed to be pretty windy all day today and all day tomorrow. Tomorrow's high is in the 60s. But it makes for a beautiful day to walk around and take a look at how things are doing. I thought we would just start right here with this container. This one I love. Look at how beautiful this is. There is a pair. The other one is to the left, but they both look the same. So we'll just take a look at one. So in this container, I planted one Ridiculous Coleus for our centerpiece, which it's doing beautifully. It's the perfect height at this point. We'll see later on this season how much taller it is than everything else. They do have the potential to get quite tall, so we'll see. I surrounded it with 3 of the Carolee Petite Pink Gara, which those are doing exactly what I was hoping they would do, just kind of throwing out little stems with some color here and there. And then this is my favorite. This is a Kufia called Vivid Violet, Totally Tempted Vivid Violet. They're a newer one, and there are several different colors, but I love this. I think it's so beautiful. And you can see it's more of a filler plant, so a step down from the Ridiculous Coleus, but I just think the flowers are gorgeous. The pollinators love them, and they look beautiful with the Supertunia Bordeaux. I've always been a huge fan of Bordeaux, so I think that's a good mix. And then I popped in some Stardiva Pink Scaevola right here, and these are a beautiful look. They're not an aggressive spiller, which I do like. They play really well with others, and so does the Bordeaux. And then right here on this side of the container, I planted a sweet potato vine, which we might have to pop the names of some of these up on the screen because I can't remember all of them. Is this the Raven sweet potato vine? Maybe. I have a feeling we're gonna have to pop several plant names up on the screen today. But that one really hasn't put on a tremendous amount of growth, but we haven't been super hot. I mean, we've been close to 100 a couple of times, but it hasn't been like everyday consistent. I mean, considering that we just dropped 20 degrees from yesterday to today. So we'll see what happens, but I kind of like that it's not overtaking yet. And then you can see the front side of this container right here. A little bit more activity on the Supertunia. This side does get more sun, so you can see the difference there. So that's container number 1. We'll take a look at these containers up here in the portico. Ignore my boxes. I bought some patio cushions that need to go back. So they're sitting here. So as a centerpiece in this container, we've got Lady in Red ferns. I planted 3 1-gallon size ferns in this container, and I really like the impact. And we get to plant these out in the landscape when we're all done with them in containers, which is great. They're perennial. And then we surrounded them with the Double Up Pink Begonia and Wire Vine, which are all looking really great. Some of them don't have a tremendous amount of color. These containers don't get a lot of sun at all. They get a tiny bit of sun in the morning, and then they're in shade the rest of the day. But I think it's a really delicate, pretty look. I like that the Wire Vine hasn't taken over, at least not yet. And maybe it won't right here because of the lack of light. And then right below that, we have some calla lilies, which this is a Be My something. We'll have to pop a name up on the screen. They're kind of doing this like floppy thing. The soil is moist. They are not dry, but they're beautiful. Look at that color of pink. Is it like Be My Destiny or something? Be My Heart, Be My Prince. I can't remember. And so I put one of those in this smaller container and then surrounded it with Double Up Pink Begonias. And these, you don't have to deadhead for them to keep blooming, but I like the look of them when you do. So you can see that I probably should have come through and done a little maintenance before we did this tour, but they still look really pretty. And then up here, we've got a Fairy Trail Green Hydrangea, which these have been a little bit difficult to keep wet in these containers. They have taken quite a lot of water. So there's been a couple of days where the blooms have completely dried down and we've had to kind of panic water them very deeply, and they've bounced every single time, and they still look really good. Double Up Pink Begonias around those as well. And as a trio, as a grouping, I've really enjoyed them. And there's the other side of the door. Same thing, same look, same plants. It just looks really full and abundant, and I love it. Okay, let's head out this direction next. Well, you can see right off how beautifully the grass is coming in this area. We're loving that. Also, this container has been really fun. And the impatiens down there on the ground, they're starting to really fill up with buds and flowers. I think they're about ready to be a beautiful show. But this container matches that one over there, and we'll take a look at it on our way to the other grouping of containers down the way. Sun is trying to come out here, but you can see as our centerpiece, We have a queen tut grass, which really hasn't done a whole lot since we planted it. And then we've got some impatiens. These are the Rocapoco tropical shades. I really like the color. I think they're absolutely beautiful, especially with this lobelia. This is Laguna Royale Lilac, which I think is a newer one. It's performing beautifully right here. Just beautifully. I love it. It looks so delicate. And you can see this wire vine is a bit more robust than the wire vine we just looked at up by the doors because it does get more light out here. I think these plants have done a good job at filling in so far. Here's the one on the other side. This queen tut, actually this whole container gets more sun. So it gives you a little bit more of an idea of growth. It's not hugely different, but this queen tut definitely looks more filled in than the other one we just saw. But the lobelia is doing equally as great. So is the wire vine and the impatiens. Looking beautiful. Okay, now these are, I think, my favorite containers. We just tackled a big clean out in this area a couple days ago. We still have some work to do. The rock pathway needs to be brought out to the brick still. I'd like to put in an arbor. I'd like to start planting some other things, of course, in this area. But these containers are so beautiful, and every time we go by them, I walk by them or drive by them, they make me so happy. They have different growth rates because this one completely filled with water. It plugged, filled with water, and I don't know how long it was like that before I realized. The salvia is bigger in this one though, which is interesting, but that one's just a little bit more full. Look at these gorgeous plants. Oh my gosh. So we've got the unplugged white salvia. That one's like struggling to make it through the vibrant violet dahlias. This is my favorite of the Virtuoso series. Vibrant violet, so gorgeous. But you can see the difference, the salvia in this one, way taller. So there's just one of those, and then there are 3 of the dahlias around it. And then surrounding the dahlias, we have Superbells Grape Punch. We have this is the lilac, isn't it? No, this is the pink. This is Laguna Royale Pink Lobelia. And then we've got the Superbells Smitten Double Pink. And I think one of the reasons why I'm so thrilled with this container is that I usually don't have super great luck with Superbells. And these are just, they're getting bigger, like they're growing and they're full of flowers, and that makes me so happy. See, I should have come through. Like, I guess this is a reality tour. Non-maintained containers, this is what they look like. It should have come through and deadheaded. The beauty of most of the annuals that we plant is that they do not have to be deadheaded. And these dahlias, they don't have to be. They'll continue to produce blooms, but they're kind of larger flowers, and I feel like the plant looks better when it's been cleaned up. For example, look at this dahlia right here. There are some pretty blooms on it, but there are also some spent ones. So it doesn't take long. Let's take a look at what this looks like when we're all done deadheading. That looks a lot better, don't you think? And we're talking like 2 to 3 minutes once a week, so it's not a big deal. Okay, let's head down this pathway next to look at a 30-second planter. Right here in this container, it's still kind of smallish. We planted, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 30-second planters. I think 4 different combination of plants, and they're just pre-done, pre-picked out plants that have been planted together in a container. You slide them out and pop them in your container and you're done. So there's some beauty in that for sure. The shade ones have, grown a lot slower than the ones that we have for sun. The plants look really good though. We'll have to pop a name up of this begonia on the screen. Isn't that gorgeous? And the fun part about this is that I can pop this out at the end of the season. Begonias make for a fairly easy houseplant, and actually the euphorbia is a decent houseplant as well. I think this is the Diamond Frost variety right here, and then there is a fuchsia. I've never tried that one as a houseplant. No color on it currently, but there's a whole bunch of buds forming up. And I think there's 2 of everything. There's a fuchsia here and a fuchsia right here, so it hasn't put on really any growth. The Diamond Frost definitely has though, and the begonia has as well, and there's 2 of each of those. I just thought it would be a fun experiment to see how those things did. This area as a whole, I'm just absolutely loving. Oh, here's our next one. We've got the Bloodgood Japanese Maple, which we did have to replace this spring after the last one had been in here for a number of years. So we did that whole replacement together. These are the heuchera called Dressed Up Ball Gown. They are awesome. Highly, highly recommend this variety. They come back beautifully every year. I actually dug these out of the pot so that I could get the dead Japanese maple out. We planted the fresh Japanese maple and then potted these back in with it. And they're just such a beautiful contrast with one another. I mean, look through the maple foliage, that dark maple foliage, to see that bright pop of heuchera foliage beneath. I think they're just so beautiful. And this is one of our probably lowest maintenance containers on the property. It's gorgeous. Okay, I think we'll pop over to the Heartley area next. Here we are. Let's take a look at sort of the whole area here. The Suncredible sunflowers have been amazing, and the cold frames, just absolutely love those. And then right here in the urns, we've got another example of the 30-second planter, and we've got containers all the way around the Heartley. There's some large ones at the corners, and then we've got a whole bunch behind. Here's a look from the other side. So in these large containers, we've got the Virtuoso Classy Carmine Dahlia, which I use a lot of back behind the Heartley. I'll show you that in a minute. And then surrounded those with the Superbells Pomegranate Punch and Superbells Grape Punch. So far they're doing pretty good. Like, there's a lot of color, but I am noticing some yellowing on the Superbells foliage here. Just a little bit, which is typically what we deal with. I've got some containers that look way worse, so I'll show you those in a little bit. But I'm happy with the results thus far. We've been fertilizing, well, all these containers once a week with the Proven Winners water soluble fertilizer, and we've been spraying them with the BT once a week for budworm. And they got sprayed yesterday when it was really hot in the afternoon, so I don't know if that affects blooms. Sometimes it can a little bit. I usually like to spray things early in the morning, but so far so good. And then this 30-second planter is a mixture of the Double Ruby Superbells, the Superbells Lemon Slice, which look at this one right here, my goodness. Those are very robust Superbells. They've always performed really well. That one in Dreamsicle for us. And then in the center, I didn't know what color the dahlia was going to be. And it's the Pinkerific, Virtuoso Pinkerific right here, which we planted in the kitchen flower bed. It's a pretty look, I think. Okay, let's walk through here and I'll show you what the wind does if I leave the doors open at night. Look at the floor in here. It just blew tons of junk in here. I need to vacuum today. Oh my goodness. Okay, so out the back side of the Heartley, you can see a bunch of the Classy Carmine Dahlias with the unplugged So Blue Salvia. They're doing fantastic. These have not been deadheaded, I don't think one time yet. So pretty good, making it that far, looking how they are. And then in these urns, I've just loved these. We've got a new annual for next year. This is a De Delta called, is it Silver River? We'll correct that if I'm wrong. But I love the foliage. Now they do bloom yellow. See one of the blooms here. I actually don't love the blooms. I popped those off. I like it more for the foliage color. And we've got a calla lily in here, which they're still looking really good. Thankfully, these containers, I found them super dried out one day, like dried out, separated from the side of the pot. And you know, I did pop the drip out of these containers at one point because they were staying too wet, and then it went too far the other direction. That happens sometimes, but the callas look good in this container. The De Delta looks awesome. Wire vine looks great. To the left of that, we have a Red Dragon Japanese maple. Just planted that this spring, and I think it's a really pretty look right here. And then on the left side of the bench, we've got a coleus. This is a chocolate drop coleus right here. Look at how gorgeous. Oh my goodness. It's grown quite a lot. Then we've got a Moonglow Mangave. I think this is a new one for next year. Looking beautiful. And I planted this in its plastic container in the pot so that we could then at the end of the season pull it out really easy and just pop it in the high tunnel or the greenhouse. Then we've got a plum pine right here. I picked this up at my parents' garden center. I thought it was just a really pretty color and texture. And then a Fairy Trail white hydrangea, which looks like, I kind of want to deadhead this one. It's a pretty bright color right there. And then another one of our Superbells and Dahlia containers. Before we get too far, let's take a look at these Yucca containers. I think these are looking great. This is a new perennial coming out next year called the Dragon Slayer Yucca. They like it on the dry side, like all yuccas. And I came along later on and added some of these double grapefruit. They're magic double grapefruit Superbells. And I think the colors have intensified since planting them. Superbells tend to like to dry out a little bit between watering, which could be a little bit of our problem up around the Heartley. They might be staying just a touch too wet, which can make their foliage yellow a bit. But I think the color here, the double grapefruit with the yucca, is so pretty. Let's head to the brick patio. Here we are. There's a lot going on up here, and I'm really happy with all of it. It's such a fun area. I mean, look at this container in the center. Oh, We'll take a close-up in a second. But these right here, these are a new mangave for next year called Aztec King. And the more light they get, the better their color is. And you can see how gorgeous the color looks on these leaves. They're just beautiful. And then all the containers at the corners, they all match. This boxwood looks a little skew. I need to either trim it more straight or tip the root ball a bit. But that's a Green Mountain boxwood as a centerpiece. And then we surrounded them with lemon coral sedum, which is blooming. And it started blooming right away after we planted it. That's not typical. So, I mean, we're just enjoying the color for now. We'll probably need to come in here and just kind of clean them off a little bit so we just have like the fresh foliage look. But the Surefire white begonias are absolutely beautiful. Loving those. And you can see those repeated throughout the whole area. So we've got lemon coral and Surefire white below our fountain base container. And as a centerpiece here, we've got the Carolina Sweetheart Redbud. I'm so glad we decided to keep the stuff we had planted in here earlier this year, because this is such a phenomenal looking container. The redbud clearly loves it. It's put on so much growth, way more than I thought possible. I mean, it's got branches that are kind of coming down and they're becoming our spillers as well as our thriller and our filler. It's just an all-encompassing plant. It's gorgeous. We've got it surrounded by the ball gown heuchera, which we planted in here early this spring. There's also some hellebore foliage popping out. And we've got the moon glow juniper, which this is a texture I'm surprised to love as much as I do in here. I think it's gorgeous. And then we've got Dichondra Silver Falls and Surefire white begonias. So we'll just take like a little spin around the container here. I'll try to keep the camera as smooth as I can here. Okay, you can see on this side it gets less light, and the redbud is definitely not reaching toward this side. It's reaching toward the sunny side. Isn't that interesting? But boy, this mix of plants is beautiful. And this heuchera is even shooting up a bloom stalk right here. I just love it. Okay, then these containers right here, we have a Let's Dance Blue Jangles Macrophylla hydrangea, which we had them over here. I had them popped into a drip system and they were not happy campers. They got too much light out there and they were just wilted all the time. I thought, oh, I don't want to fight this. So we plugged the drip and brought them up here where they do get a little bit more shade. This one gets more shade than this one. In fact, this one I have to give a little bit more water to because the blooms want to wilt down every day. But for this look, it's worth it. I did put them on saucers. I ordered some concrete saucers. Hopefully they'll get here within, I think they'll get here in like 6 weeks or so, and I'll swap the plastic ones out when they arrive. But I think the hydrangea is beautiful and it's worth the extra moisture. Just really to this one, I've got a couple more in these blue and white containers and they're not even planted. I just popped the pot down in the container. But look at the color difference. Like these are way more purple and this one's more blue so far. This one will turn more purple eventually. In fact, the new bloom down here looks like it's going to be more lavender. So we've got them surrounded by a new sweet potato vine coming out next year. This is Medusa Black. And then we've got a polka dot plant called Hippo Rose, and then more of the lobelia. This is the Laguna Royale Pink right here. We also have one of our ivy topiaries that we made, was it last winter or the winter before? It's done real well. Also, before we get too far, let's take a look at this little annual flower bed. Isn't this beautiful? So earlier this spring, we planted the Dusty Miller. The variety is New Look, and I started them from seed this winter. We planted them out with some pink shades, I think, pansies, and we had sort of a checkerboard look. And once it got hot, we popped the pansies out and went in with Surefire white begonias and left the Dusty Miller and then planted a little hedge of lemon coral sedum around the edge. Isn't that pretty? There's the incredible hydrangeas looking awesome. Okay, now we're at our raised bed vegetable garden area, and these are two of the containers I am not as impressed with right here. I went in with one of the hibiscus. We'll have to put the name on the screen. It's can't remember. I mean, if you look at this plant, it's full of buds. This one has buds and it's got a few flowers going, but I've had to pull off a lot of yellowing leaves, and it seems like we'll have one day where we'll have a lot of color on them and then several days where they're just a green plant. And I don't know, I kind of would prefer that the blooms would come out a little bit more consistently, and that could be a location problem. It's my first time having these plants, so it's definitely something I would try again in a different location and maybe even try them in the ground. We surrounded them with the Superbells Blue Moon Punch, which they're honestly looking pretty darn good. They look really good with the lavender next to them. But we'll see what these do. I mean, they might just need a minute. They might need some really good consistent heat. Superbells are a little bit more yellow in that pot than they are in this one. But for these, like, the wow factor isn't quite there yet. And in the center, we did another 30-second planter, which the Stratosphere White Gara is just going for it. So I think there was just one in here. Just one Stratosphere White, and then it's surrounded by the Blue Moon Punch Superbells and the Superbena called something. I can't remember. Gosh, we planted a bunch of them in front of the pond. And here's a different angle of it. But this one was nice because, you know, just like the other 30-second planter, we were able just to pop it out of its container and put it in the pot. Super easy. And I'm harvesting that for dinner tonight. Isn't that the most beautiful cabbage? All right, so now the container in front of the greenhouse. This is a pretty one. However, my Rockin' Deep Purple Salvia is staying kind of short. I didn't know what would happen if we put the Picoty Pink Gara in as like a surrounding element to the salvia. I think maybe the salvia just needs a minute, but that one should grow and fill in. I'm hoping it gets like this tall-ish. But that Picoty Pink Gara, isn't that beautiful? I just love them as a centerpiece. I think I tried it like 3 years ago as a centerpiece for the first time and just fell in love with the way it looks. There's something so like fairy-esque about it. But I surrounded the salvia and Gara with the Supertunia Mini Vista Plum Veined, Supertunia Tiara Blue, and Supertunia Royal Velvet. And I think it's a really pretty blend of pink and purple. The containers in front of the barn are going to need a refresh at some point. We've had these green giant arborvitas in here for a number of years at this point. Oh my goodness, I love them though. I love the height, I love the simplicity and the ease of having them here, and they look pretty in the wintertime. Chicken coop pots. So this is the one other area that I used one of those hibiscus as a centerpiece, and we immediately had a big windstorm right after I planted it, so I had to bring out the top of one of our obelisks and pop it in there so that the stems could be held up. And it's kind of the same performance level as the other ones. This is a different variety though. I think I want to say it's like First Lady or something. But the plants surrounding it are gorgeous. We've got more of the Vibrant Violet or Vivid Violet. I think it's Vivid Violet Kufia. The Supertunia Royal Velvet. And then there are some dahlias in here, but they're getting kind of shrouded by the Kufia a little bit. Overall, a pretty look though right here. And then for the window box here, we've got more of the Virtuoso Vibrant Violet Dahlias, the Vivid Violet Kufia, and then the Blue Moon Punch Superbells. It's kind of going through a little bit of a lull at the moment. This dahlia, this one actually needs to be deadheaded. We've got a whole bunch of buds, but that one doesn't have much color. This needs to be deadheaded too. This one had a couple weeks where it was looking so prime. So we'll see. We'll see if it bounces back, produces more color. I am, however, loving the dahlias and lemon coral sedum along with the Invincible Ruby hydrangeas in the flower bed. So pretty. Oh, and there's a Miss Violet Buddleia blooming too. So now we are going to head toward the south garden. We've got just a few containers out there spread around, mostly like the big ones that we used to have along the east fence line. Oh, and then we do have the urns, I guess, here on the west side. Take a look at those quick. Right in here, I've loved these. We had the mangave called Catch a Wave in here. Just a beautiful structural plant. They do, I will admit, get a little bit lost in front of the arborvitae hedge. But usually when I'm looking at these, I'm walking down the sidewalk and I see them a little bit more at a side view, and I do love the structure. And then the lemon coral, of course, is bright and beautiful and blooming. So I need to come in here and clean those off a little bit eventually. Doesn't that lemon coral just pop? It's an amazing plant. Okay, now the south garden. We'll start with these containers right over here. So this one right here is one of the 2026 national recipes. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a beautiful blend of plants. We have the Supertunia Mini Vista White, along with the Supertunia Hoopla Vivid Orchid, and the Superbena Violet Ice. Violet Ice. Isn't that a stunner? They're absolutely gorgeous. And we have this container repeated on the other side of the walkway over there. And then right over here in front of our berry beds, these all match. So we'll just take a look at one of them. But as a centerpiece, we've got a Picoty Pink Gara, surrounded by the Vivid Violet Kufia. And then we've got the James Britannia Safari, which one is this? I think this might be Safari Dusk. And then the Superbells Double Grapefruit kind of intermingling with the Supertunia Royal Velvet. Isn't that a pretty blend? I've really enjoyed having these containers right here. They just add some weight right here that I think is just really nice. And we've got another one right back here. With blackberries that are starting to get some color. Oh my goodness. This one's loaded. Look at these. Almost there. So this is another one of the 2026 national recipes, and I love this. I think it's called Saffron Sunrise. And I think this is a beautiful kind of tropical looking blend. There's a Supertunia Saffron Finch, along with the James Britannia. We'll have to pop the name of that one. Is it Safari Dusk? And then the tropical shades Superbells. I think it's just such a bright and gorgeous blend of flowers. Also, these grapes, they are just outdoing themselves this year. Okay, we're gonna have to walk over to the other side of the south garden. We just have a couple containers left. Here we are at the beginning of the loop over here. And I just threw some random things in this container, but they look really bright and fun. We've got some Hydrangea blooming right behind them, looking beautiful, and Fama White pincushion flowers. And I came through and planted some Stardiva pink scaevola where we had chamomile come up this spring, which we'll probably have it come back up a little bit later on this season. But in this container we have the luscious, I think luscious berry blend Lantana, and we've got the Saffron Finch Supertunia and the Tiara Blue Supertunia. Just a really bright blend. It's really pretty, eye-catching. And I was just noticing this firefly, is it firefly fuchsia? I don't know, sparkling amethyst? I can't remember. Anyway, it's so beautiful. I love the color right here. Look at this. And we've got a pink phlox that is about ready. Some of it's about ready to start to bloom as well. That's going to be a pretty blend together. On our way to the last pot, I just wanted to show you this little spot. Look how pretty all of these are. This is a Supertunia Vista blend. Vista Jazzberry, Vista Bubblegum, Vista Whiteout. Not Whiteout, Snowdrift. I got a hold of these as hanging baskets and just popped them straight in the ground, and they are gorgeous. I love them. Bunch of Echinacea purpurea. We started from seed. And this is the last one. It's the same as the one we looked at right by the grapes. Same blend of plants, but I wanted to put them in a couple different locations so that we just could try them out like that. So this is another one of the Saffron Sunrise. And we've surrounded it with the Supertunia Mini Vista White and the Dahlia Virtuoso Dayglow, which need to be deadheaded. Maybe I'll do that today. And you guys, that is it for our container tour today. I'm racking my brain. It's quite possible that I missed some containers. I did skip quite a number of containers that just have like a boxwood in them. Like I've got some real pretty boxwood cones in front of the flower shed. I've got some boxwood spheres at the end of the west side. I've got a boxwood spiral on the north side of the chicken coop. There's a few containers around that just have that, but it's not like a lot of color. It's just structural, which sometimes I like equally as well as containers that are filled with flowers, because I know that those containers with evergreens are going to withstand all 4 seasons and look the same and look beautiful all the time. As opposed to, containers that are full of annual flowers. We get to enjoy them for a lot of months out of the year, but they do go away in the winter time. But it gives us opportunity to try out different things every single year, which I love doing. Also, I do think I mentioned that we are fertilizing them once a week, and they are getting sprayed. At least the ones with Supertunias and Superbells in them get sprayed once a week with BT to keep the budworms at bay. And we really haven't had a chance to put the aquapot inserts to the test yet. It hasn't been consistently really hot enough to do that. So we'll be able to report back later on this summer how those have worked out for us. And we will be giving you update tours along the way too. There'll probably be 1 or 2 more at least this season to show you just progress updates at the growth of these and how they're doing. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next one.